On a happy note, that if we come May, we could be rid of Starmer by May. To lose one minister can be considered unfortunate. To lose two is sheer carelessness. But now he's actually up to three.
Who is the person who may be going next? Could it be someone called Rachel Reeves? Hi everybody, and welcome back to Nick Talks. This episode's returning guest is David from the Silver Fox Hot Takes, who, you will not know, this is breaking news. He's just hit 50,000 subscribers a few minutes ago while we were chatting. Fantastic, David.
That's grand, isn't it? I've got to thank all the viewers for that. I mean, it's hard work when you're doing it, but when you see something like that, it's really appreciated. And you appreciate every view, and you appreciate every sub. So big thank you to all my subs and to all yours. I believe you're hitting a milestone soon as well, aren't you?
Probably next day too, I'll be hitting 30,000. But for anybody watching this video, go into the description of the video.
Yeah,
You'll
go and
find a
sub.
link.
Go and sub.
Yeah, you'll find David's channel there. Go subscribe now. You won't be disappointed. Thanks for coming back on the show. Our video last time's did well. I thoroughly enjoyed our conversation about Scottish politics because I didn't know too much about that myself.
Yeah, just a shame about the video quality just jumpy on. I don't know why, but hopefully this one should be better. I'm doing this one on a different device, so I don't know if it was my device causing it or there was just a problem with Tinterwebs at the time. Sometimes that happens, but hopefully this one will be okay.
I think it was a Tinterweb. I just think your broadband or my broadband or something was just playing up for a few minutes even there. I think it was that. Let's jump straight into this. So for people who follow politics like me and you, obviously you follow it more closely than I do. We've had a couple of resignations. And when we say resignations from the government, what we really mean is they've been sacked. They've been forced out.
Oh yes, they have been resigned.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. So we had Louise Haigh, who was the business minister. And a few days ago, we had Tulip, who was the anti-corruption minister, and she went for corruption. You can't make this crap up.
Yeah, I know you couldn't.
Yeah. Is there anybody else on the horizon who may be going?
Well, before that, you've got to remember, of course, Sue Gray had to walk the plank as well.
Ah, I forgot that.
Yeah, so really, he's up to three. I mean, I think I said something about to lose one minister can be considered unfortunate. To lose two is sheer carelessness. But now he's actually up to three. So yeah, he keeps going. But I mean, as you say, who else could go? Well, name them. There's so many. There's one who he can't get rid of course. There's one whose job is safe, probably safer than his. And that, of course, is the Growler, Angela Rayner, because he didn't appoint her. She was appointed by the committee, by the executive committee. So he can't get rid of her. But everyone else's job is really up for debate, isn't it? But we all know who the most likely to go is, don't we?
Well, that was the next question. I actually thought the person we're going to mention now was the person you were talking about, but it was Angela Rayner. Who is the person who may be going next? Could it be someone called Rachel Reeves?
I think it absolutely has to be. We all know the line, you know, when a football manager comes out, does the interview and said, I've had the full backing of the board. You know, that means he's gone, isn't he? He's finished. He's done. Pack your bags, mate. You're out. You know, quick little nip of whiskey and off you go. And that's it. Well, you know, she's had the backing. Number 10 actually had to come out, didn't they? They had to come out and say that Rachel will be there for the full 5 years of this parliament, which I think is not a chance. Not a chance. She won't be here next week, I reckon. She's so thin ice. It's razor thin ice. It really is.
The only good news for her at the moment is an announcement today was the UK economy grew a tiny bit last month. I think it was 0.1%.
0.1%, which is so small. But remember, it grew 0.1% over Christmas when people go out and spend lots and lots of money.
I didn't think of that. Yeah, that's a great point.
If that is the Christmas growth, then it didn't grow at all. And what's it going to be like this month? because obviously, January, first of all, there's about 15 weeks in January, isn't there, between one payday and the next? And also, people have spent all that money at Christmas. Everyone's saved, they haven't got the cash. So, in terms of retail, that's dead. Investment's dead. There's going to be nothing. The drop is not last month. What was surprising was it was only 0.1%. This month, crash and burn.
Yeah, I mean, I know quite a few business people. They're not taking staff on. They've already confirmed that on their board meetings that there'll be no pay rises this year because they're trying to mitigate against the national insurance rises they're going to have to pay. And some of the business people I'm talking to are reluctantly beginning to look at who can we let go.
I know one who has basically handed it over to his staff, and he's given them, I think, three choices. He said either you all work half an hour a week extra unpaid, or you take a 5% pay cut, or you choose amongst you which three have to be let go. He says that's the only way we can afford this. And they're all sort of looking around each other and they're all going, oh, God. And he's hoping to God it's a 5% pay cut, he says, because he wants to keep them. He doesn't want to make people unemployed. He says, but it's quite literally there. The cost. He says, and it's not just the cost of the employment, because obviously when you think you're starting to pay national insurance £4,500 sooner, so an extra £4,500 of national insurance contributions that have to be made, but also the rate at which you pay it is higher. But because that's passed on all the way through the supply line, it means the goods are more expensive, everything is more expensive. And so his costs are more expensive. He says, and he can't pass all that on to the customer. He doesn't, you've got to try. He says, but the moment you start putting anything up to try and mitigate and cover that, says demand falls. He says, and then the whole bloody business collapses. So what do you do?
Yeah. And then we have to realize that some of these businesses are competing on the world stage. Their competitors are in other countries. So how can you raise your costs here when other people are selling stuff from Germany, France, Portugal, who have not had those employment tax rises, so therefore their products are cheaper? It's like a double whammy.
Oh, and it's going to get way worse. They're already looking at later in the year putting up the fuel duty that they said they wouldn't. They're telling councils now, and I've got a video going out later today, actually. Sorry to push, I don't mean to be plugging my own video or form, but it's relevant to the conversation, where Angela Rayner is saying that if you are a wasteful council that is forcing to put up the council tax by 10%, that's good news. If you're in a good, efficient council that is trying to save money and only puts up the council tax by, say, 2%, you're going to be punished and you're not going to get extra money and funding from the government. So she's rewarding waste and punishing efficiency. Socialism 101, isn't it?
There's also another explanation for that I've been thinking about for a couple of years, knowing Labour were going to be coming in. And what Labour want to do is raise more taxes, but they know they only can do that so many times. So what they can do is say to all the local governments, we're going to give you less money in from central government, but we're going to allow you to raise your council tax as much as you want, in which case you then get the blame for higher taxes locally. And it's a way of pushing that responsibility onto the councils.
Yeah, but it's still going to cost money. And fewer pennies in your pocket means you're not going out, you're not spending it in shops, restaurants, bars, cinemas. They're not making money, more unemployment. Then all of a sudden the tax take goes down, the unemployment goes up, and they're going to go, oh, we need more tax.
But yeah, let's talk about the man at the pinnacle of this, Keir Starmer. Keir Starmer personally hasn't created the problem the country's in, because we've been coming to this point over decades and decades, over many governments, over many colours. This isn't purely Keir Starmer's fault. But what Keir Starmer has done, which I knew he would do, is he's made everything worse.
Undoubtedly.
Can he last? Will he be here this time next year? Are the local elections going to see him gone? How strong is his position? Because every time we mention this, people say he's here for 5 years. He's got 200 odd seat majority. He's going nowhere. I can't see that happening, but what can you see happening?
Well, his majority went down by one today. Um, yeah, Mike Amesbury admitted his guilt in court and was thrown out of the Labour Party. So he now has to sit on the other side. He has to get off the Labour benches and go and sit on the opposition side. So, well, that's good news. But can Starmer last? Not a chance in hell. The backbenchers are already unhappy with him. There's the murmurings. We all know that they're talking. They're all looking at this and thinking, well, it's a one parliament government, isn't it? We're going to have this one vote next year, or 2029 rather, next vote. We're out. They know it. And with the rise of reform, the challenge is there. There's no way Labour are ever going to form the next government. Now, whether he goes, well, you say, will he go after the May elections? That's a big assumption, isn't it? What, you think we're going to get elections in May? Because the way it's going, we aren't. Virtually all of the councils now want those elections delayed. And the reason, of course, is they all know that a lot of them are going to lose their seats to reform. They're giving various reasons. Oh, we've got this change of policy here. Oh, we're going to change it. Bullshit. It's all reform. If any election does happen, Labour are going to get shafted. And I think Keir Starmer will take the blame. Now, pick up what you said. Yes, problems have been long term. Of course they have, but they've really come to a head. But ultimately, he is the captain of the ship. He's choosing his first mate. He's choosing his navigator. He's choosing his engineer. He's choosing these people, and his judgment is off. And you can't even make this up. Tulip Sadiq goes because she's the corruption minister who's corrupt. Sorry, anti-corruption minister who's corrupt, allegedly. And so he's replaced her with Emma Reynolds, who is such baggage with regards to her, I don't know what you'd call it, love affair with the Chinese, a despotic regime that has concentration camps and slave labor, and she's begging people not to put tariffs on them, to engage with them and do all this. And he was asked directly, will she be involved in the China deal that Rachel Reeves is dealing with? Because obviously they're both in Treasury, and he couldn't even answer it. He refused to answer the question. And of course, if he's not answering the question, then the answer is yes, of course she will. So you're going to get more bias from a tainted MP that's meant to replace the one that's now got 3 different corruption charges laid on her by the Bangladeshi government, and whom he says could be welcomed back into Parliament, into government. The man has got no judgment. I don't know what is actually wrong with him.
He likes and he wants loyalty. Him and Tulip are extremely close friends outside of politics.
Yeah. I mean, he goes on holiday to her family's house in Bangladesh, for which they pay for. He doesn't pay for it.
They're very close. And I think he appoints people to his cabinet who he believes he can trust, as much as you can trust any politician. He knows they'll all stab him in the back at some point, but I think he's very particular who he picks, because he knows he's skating on thin ice. Hence why
he doesn't pick them because they're good.
No.
They're me mate. They're not very good at the job, but they are at least me mate.
Yeah.
That's not what a way to run a circus,
So if we do have local elections, and Labour are absolutely destroyed across the country in the places where they're having them, such as Wales and Scotland and other places, if anybody is looking at stabbing Keir Starmer in the back, that will be a perfect time, because he takes the rap for the poor local elections.
Yes, absolutely.
Individuals then say, and I'm your saviour. And there's somebody already making political movement now on this. And
Are you thinking of the same person I'm thinking?
He's called Andy Burnham.
Well, okay, that's one of them. The other one was Wed Streeting. But yeah, Burnham would have to win a seat first. That's his problem. But yeah, I would say one of those two is undoubtedly the next Labour leader. If they can get Andy Burnham a seat, then yeah. I mean, here's the thing. With Mike, oh God, what's his name? Oh God,
Mike Amesbury.
with Mike Amesbury, it could be that they could actually push for a suspension, get the 10-day suspension, do a recall petition, and get him out to leave a vacant seat to get Andy Burnham in. So that's a possibility there. You get Andy Burnham in as an MP, and then he could come in and he would take over from Keir Starmer. Or Wes Streeting, as we know, Wes Streeting is incredibly ambitious. He's not very good, but he is ambitious. I would say, as someone who loathes the Labour Party, I must say, of the two, I would rather have Andy Burnham as leader than Wes Streeting.
Right, I'm sure Andy Burnham is very happy to hear that because he's an avid watcher of my YouTube channel.
Is he?
No, he's not.
Oh, okay.
I've stood against him twice now.
You fell for that.
Yeah. Well, I've stood against him twice for Mayor of Greater Manchester.
Yeah,
last year I came third as an independent. I beat Reform, the Greens, and the Lib Dems, and I came third.
Oh, cracking! Yeah.
So I had a good goal last year. The other rumour about Andy Burnham, that's been about 18 months now. He's already done a deal. He's done a deal with Graham Stringer, MP for North Manchester, and Graham Stringer wants to retire, and he's been hanging on for a year and a half, waiting for the best opportunity to retire to give Andy Burnham a shot at his seat. So that's been.
Oh yeah, that has a ring of truth about it straight away, doesn't it?
Yeah. So I've been hearing that. Yeah, for about 18 months that's been going on. I don't think it matters who becomes Labour leader. I think many people would do a better job than Starmer. You could keep all these policies and just be a better communicator and a much better liar, and you'd look a better prime minister.
Well, I call him the Starmer Droid 4000 because he is mechanical. And I tell you, the first time I noticed it was after the Southport murders, and he just walked up there, and it was like a robot. He wouldn't look inside to side. He didn't blink. He walked up, place to read, and then walk away. Didn't engage, didn't talk, didn't acknowledge, nothing. And it was like mechanical. And the way I speak is this. And as long as you can hear the silicon chips burning out behind him, you know. He's just not a human being. He is. Do you know the term uncanny valley? It's right. It's where you've got like robots that are so very human, but they're not quite human. They don't give off the same body language as a normal human. And so while they look human, there's something about them. It's a bit creepy. And that's what I get. He is very uncanny valley. Think, the Stepford Wives.
Yeah. And that's just a personality trait. He just isn't very good at that. I'm sure he's a very clever man. I disagree with his politics, but I'm sure he's very clever. But how the bosses of the Labour Party could pick him when they've had leaders before like Tony Blair, who I completely disagreed with, but he could hold a room.
Blair was awful, but he was charismatic.
Yeah.
That was the thing. He was a charismatic man.
Yeah. And that got him to a certain part, in the public psyche, which Starmer hasn't got. Is there anything that's going to be happening that you can foresee, at the beginning of the year? What's your number one prediction for the next few months? What?
Over the next few months, we're going to see mass unemployment because people will start shedding before April the 6th when the new tax comes in. And also because of the fall, I reckon 200,000 jobs in retail will go. I'm going to say that we're going to start seeing a big uptick in inflation because the fall in the pound makes everything that we import much more expensive. That's got to get passed on. So there is going to be a big chunk of inflation coming, which will push up interest rates. I think the pound will reach parity with the dollar, which will be disastrous for us. And that's before Trump gets in and is possibly looking at tariffs on our stuff. So it's just doom and gloom all along. I can't see an uplift. I can see nothing that will put a smile on my face going forward.
David, you just depressed the hell out of me. I was hoping for a positive prediction.
God, okay, I'll give you something positive. There is one positive. That is, if we get the May elections and It will, I think, utterly humiliate Labour. It will force a change. He will have to go, and whoever comes in will have that opportunity at that point of changing the entire Labour top team. And if that happens and they can rejig some policies, there is a possibility that the misery will subside. But it will take the balls of steel, and you have to get rid of Starmer and then get rid of Rachel Reeves, get rid of David Lammy, the idiot, get rid of them all. And you've got to get rid of Lammy. Britain needs America, and while Lammy's there, ain't gonna happen, is it?
It's not. So let's hope. Let's hope that prediction comes true, and let's end on that positive note.
On that happy note, that come May, we could be rid of Starmer by May.
Excellent.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. Cheers, David, and I'll catch up with you again soon.
That's great. Thanks very much. Thanks for having me on, and bye to everyone else.